So let's start off with creating charts. So we'll start off first with what is known as bar chart. So a bar chart, we are going to be using a bar chart mostly for analysis purposes whenever you want to compare or you want to make a comparison. So a comparison of some data over a period of time. Okay, so here you can take a look at this data, which is monthly sales. So you want to find out the monthly sales of a product over different months. So how do you create this bar chart? So this is what is also known as a bar chart, and you also have another type of bar chart, and that is what is known as a column chart. Okay, so you can also have this kind of a bar chart, or this is also considered as a bar chart. Okay, so in order to create a bar chart, you first go ahead and select the entire data and then select the kind of chart that you would like. Okay, now what all modifications can you make into a chart? Whenever you create a chart, you have to ensure that you enter the chart title and you also label both the axes. So you can modify that from the chart design tab that comes up and click on the chart element and put both the primary axis and the vertical axis. So vertical axis would be month over here, and primary axis would be the sales that has been done throughout these months. Then you also go ahead and create the chart title. So you can choose where you would like to have your chart and give a meaningful name of the chart. So they may not always, the question paper may not always give you the name of the chart. They may ask you to put a meaningful chart. Even if the title is a little long, it's okay. The chart title should always be meaningful. So monthly sales in the year of 2015 is the chart title that has been given to this particular chart. Okay, so then let's move on. We have also what is known as a comparative bar chart. So that is used now in this example. It's a single product. So that single product, what has been the sales done in each month. So or it is the sales that has been done in one particular area. So if I take a look at the next set of data, I have got sales that have been done in different months in different continents. So this is what is known as a comparison bar chart. So in order to do a comparison bar chart, I can select the entire data and go ahead into my insert and choose my bar chart, and it will be able to give me this entire bar chart. Okay. Now, if suppose I have created my chart and I want to remove an element from this particular chart. So I have my chart created over here. I want to remove Asia from this particular chart. I can go ahead and select my data and I can choose which one that I want to remove. So let's say I want to remove Asia from this. I can go ahead and click remove, and it will remove off that data from this chart. Same thing if I want to add, or let's say I made the chart, but I did not include this particular product or this particular continent over here. So I'm going to again go back to my chart. Instead of reselecting the data, I can select my data after the chart has been created, and I can go and click on add. And first I will add the name of the series, and then I will add the series values. So the values are given to me over here in the C column. And click on OK. So it will add back the data inside this particular chart. So that's how I can modify a combination chart, or a chart in which you're going to be making comparison. Okay, so I can also change the major and the minor units, and modify the display units if I want to. Like for example here, whatever is the scale that is being mentioned over here, I can modify that in order to take up or less space and to display less space at the axis values. So they have mentioned that the major scale, what is the unit in which you want the major scale to display, and what is the minor value that is required for your units. And to display the units as, it can be in one of these values. So they've asked us to display the values as 1000. So this is more presentable, and it takes up, it clutters less in my chart. So it makes a chart more presentable. A line graph is similar to a bar chart in that they will show the size of the data, but they are mainly used to show how the data is changing over a period of time. So you have time, or you have the years given over here, and you would like to see a trend of how the hospital waiting times have changed over the past couple of years. So this is showing a trend. If I had created a bar chart over here, I would be able to compare, okay, in 3 years, which was the, or in the past 4 years, which year had the highest waiting time, I could compare. But the kind of trend in which it's showing how it's going down, okay, that trend can be understood only if I create what is known as a line chart. And then I have a comparative line graph. So it compares the waiting times of 3 hospitals. So this is used when I want to compare more than one parameter over a 4-year period with a target waiting time of 2.5 hours. So if I take a look over here and we move towards this workbook, so I have created over here a chart by selecting the entire data and then going into my line chart and selecting my line with markers. So that would give me this particular chart. So now when this particular chart is being created, what happens is that, so let's just create this chart. So we will select this entire data, including the target, and create a comparative line graph. So when I create this comparative line graph, if you have noticed with comparison to this graph, the axis is displaying hospitals and not the years. But I want the data points to be displaying the waiting times of each hospital, including the target. So I need to switch the years to come as a part of the axis and the hospital waiting times to come as a part of the data. So in order to do that, I would go ahead to switch row and column, and it would switch the data. So now I am able to see the different, I'm able to compare the different data or the times taken by different hospitals as compared to the target. So this is my target, the orange colored line. So I'm able to see which hospital is coming close towards meeting the target in the past couple of years. Okay, I can modify this line in order to make it a dotted line by going into my format, or even changing my dash type from here, so that it will be able to display the data in a different manner. Notice how the y-axis scale has intervals of 0.5 hours. The maximum value for the y-axis scale is 5, and the minimum value for the y-axis scale is 1.5. So this value, if you take a look over here, has been modified to represent the data. If you take a look at the axis options, it has been modified in order to set the bound. So minimum is 1.5 over here, and the maximum is being modified to 5, and the it is between 0.5 intervals for each of them. Okay, so that's the maximum interval scale between each of them. So this will give us a more clearer comparison of our data. Okay, now we'll move on to pie charts. So pie charts can also be sometimes used to show actual values, but mostly they are used to show proportional values. So proportional values means values as a whole. So you have a whole and you want to find out what is the percentage out of that row. So they show proportional data to show proportion or percentage of each data item. So this particular Excel sheet will contain a pie chart showing the proportion of votes received for each student who are standing for election as the head boy of the school. Okay, so here I'm going to take a look at this chart. So I can select my entire data and move into my insert and choose a pie chart. So once I have selected my pie chart, the axis has already come or the legends have already come. I can modify this to display the values or the percentage inside by modifying the layout. So as I keep modifying my layouts, I will be able to display with values or as a percentage. I can also select my data, and if I would like to extract it, select that particular portion till only this is selected, and then I can extract in order to highlight that this particular student has got the more number of votes. I can modify the look of this chart by clicking on format, then changing the sheet fill or the outline or any effects that I would like to change on this particular chart. So different designs also, I can make this entire chart to become black and white. I can add my chart element by adding my legend or my chart titles and insert a meaningful chart title for this particular pie chart. Now the next type of chart that we have is what is known as a combination chart. So the data that is being conveyed over here is we are trying to compare the revenue that a company has earned over the last 4 to 5 years, and also to find out what is the percentage margin. So we are trying to see what is the trend in the profit margin over a certain period of time. So sometimes two different data sets relating to different data sets need to be plotted on the same chart, but they have a different set of values. So I have two sets of values over here. In this case, I'm going to use a combination chart, which would include a column chart for one set of data and a line chart for another set of data. Okay, so in this example, the contiguous columns for year, revenue, and profit margin have been selected to create a column chart. Year has not been automatically selected as the value for the x-axis. The horizontal axis labels are shown, and then you can modify. So when I come over here, let's come this part. So I'm going to be able to select, let me remove this. I'm going to be able to select this entire data, and I want to make a combination chart. So I will go into insert and click on my combo chart and create a combo chart. Now over here, year should have come as a part of my x-axis. So it has not come. So for me to include year as a part of my x-axis, I'm going to click on select data, and I'm going to modify my horizontal axis and select year. And once that has been done, I can remove year from this part. So now I have revenue being displayed over here, but I don't have the profit margin being displayed. So I'm going to again change the chart type in order to display the profit margin as a secondary axis. And as before, I can change the major and minor axis values also, depending on how I would like my data to be displayed. I can also select this part, and I can modify the various axis options over here, and also choose the units that I would like it to be displayed. So if I would like to have it displayed as 100, so it would show it in a percentage format. So that would be my combination chart that has been displayed over here with a secondary axis. So the secondary axis will show two different value sets. So the chart will indicate with the legend which value is being represented from both the axes. So with that, we will be able to understand which type of chart to produce. General rules have been shown in this table. So if it's a bar chart or if it's a column chart as is being displayed here, it is used to show single series of data and columns or rows. Whereas a comparative bar or a column chart is used to compare more than one series of data and columns and rows. For example, you want to compare the profit made by different products over a period of time. So you would be using a comparative bar or a column chart. A line graph is used to show how a single series of data changes over a period of time. And a comparative line graph is used to show how more than one series of data would change over a period of time. And a pie chart would be used to show the proportion used in each item of data, whereas a combination chart would be used to show more than one series of data using a combination of column and line chart where there is a secondary axis. Now, when you are asked to create a chart, you also need to format a graph or a chart to fully label it, and any major or minor axis that or the units that need to be changed also need to be modified appropriately. So you need to include a title for your chart, and it should explain clearly what this chart or this graph is all about. A legend to display if you have multiple values in order to display what each value represents. Then a label which can be given to a series used on a legend. Then value in your axis label and category axis labels. Okay, both for X and Y should be used to represent what both the axes shows. A secondary axis is used to show data when you have different sets of values to the primary axis but using the same direction of axis. When you're using a pie chart, if you would like to show a percentage, then you would need to display the percentages in your pie chart. Segment label, instead of a legend, you can display inside a pie chart each label along with a percentage. And same thing is your segment value. So instead of displaying percentages, you can represent the data along with its label and its value instead of representing it as a percentage. You can also select a particular segment of your chart and pull it out, and that would be to extract one particular sector of your pie chart, and that is to highlight this particular data has got some relevance. Then you can scale your y-axis, which can be set to a normal or a logarithmic scale. Then you have intervals between data values and axis, and you can set the maximum and minimum value which should be displayed on a scale. So with this, our different types of graphs and charts is covered from our syllabus.